Welcome, everybody, to another live and amplified livecast. I'm your host, Tom Kwiat, and we are back at it again with another amazing podcast today. We have a very special guest joining us. We have Jess Bush. How's it going today?
I'm good. Thank you. How are you, Tom?
I'm doing really well. It's a nice Sunday here in Texas, so I'm enjoying the weather right now. So,
Awesome. Yeah,
nice.
me
Uh,
too.
so you're based out of California, Southern California. How's everything been going there?
It's great. Excuse me. Yeah, I'm in Ventura, California, so just a little further north in LA, but because we are driving distance to LA, we get a lot of the um the music scene in LA kind of radiates out, which is really cool because it's a small town, but we still have a lot going on here as far as live music goes and recording studios and really heavy hitting players. And I like that balance for sure.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you just got done playing a few shows over the Friday, Saturday. How have the shows been going this summer?
Good. Yeah. I'm in I do hired gun work in addition to my work as a solo artist, singer, songwriter. So I play keys in a yacht rock band, which is always a good time. And, summer is our season for sure. So a lot of private parties and private events, yacht clubs, that kind of thing. So I had one of those, and then I had like a 2 hour solo set as well this weekend, which was really nice. So
That's
I like
cool.
having both. Having both
Right.
is a good balance, I think.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yacht rock is really cool. I lived in Florida for a couple of years, and there was a lot of yacht rock bands that I ran into, and it was quite interesting.
Yeah, shout out to Nautical Thrust. That's the yacht rock band I'm in. They've been together for years. I'm the newest member, so very thankful for them for having me.
For sure, for sure. So you're not originally from Southern California. You said you're originally from Raleigh, North Carolina,
Mhm.
or that I guess you, as you put it, that's the closest you could pinpoint a hometown.
Yeah, so my parents are British. My most of my extended family is British, but my mom and my dad moved to Raleigh about a year or two before I was born. So grew up there until I was 12, and then my dad's job moved him out to Thousand Oaks,
Hmm,
uh, which is sort of between Ventura, where I am now, in Los Angeles. And yeah, stayed there through high school. Then I went up to San Luis Obispo, California for college and ended up here in Ventura. So
nice. And how long have you been playing music, or yeah, playing music?
yeah, so I come from a very musical family. My dad is a really amazing piano player. Doesn't do it professionally, but just super gifted. And my grandfather was the same way. It kind of goes through our lineage if you look back over the years, which is really special to me. And so everyone in my family plays something to some level. And I think it was just kind of a given at around age 6 or 7, I was going to try piano lessons. And my parents were able to find really great teachers who I think tapped into what I liked about it. And I just hear so many stories from either adults who were forced to take piano lessons as kids, or parents sometimes will come up to me and ask for advice on how do I how do I encourage my child to try music lessons and not end up with them hating it, you
Hmm,
know? You hear that whole trope about kids like hating piano lessons and hating to practice, but I think my teachers just really let me choose what I wanted to play. So it was a mix of classical. I technically you could say I'm classically trained. I think that phrase is a little pretentious, especially
hmm,
when, I'm not this like prodigious classical pianist. But I grew up playing a lot of classical music. But I also got to bring in whatever captured my interest. So Beatles, U2, I did a lot of Broadway, a little bit of like rag type music, like
hmm.
a little bit of everything. And I think that's really what kept me in lessons was just finding teachers who would let me play what I wanted to play. And that's what I would tell any parent, honestly. Just if your kids can choose the music they're learning, they're going to be so much more engaged in it. Even if it's like a One Direction song,
Hmm.
like who cares? It's
Yeah.
music. There's all kinds of good music. It doesn't have to be just classical.
Yeah, especially nowadays, I'm sure you can get the scales or the keys or the whatever for any song that's out there, or the
Oh,
tabs.
yeah.
That's the word I was looking for. was
Yeah, you
so.
can get beyond tabs and charts, you can get literal sheet music for most pop songs,
Mhm.
these days on the internet. Obviously you should purchase them legally. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna encourage anyone to do anything sketchy. But yeah, I used to play like High School Musical songs. I don't know if you remember that movie.
Yep,
I played that for like my middle school piano recital because that's when it was just really popular.
yep,
So it seems a little silly looking back, but just swear that's why I kept going, you
yep.
know?
I was an intern at Disney, and the park that I worked at, we had the High School Musical 3 parade
Oh,
every hour on the hour,
oh
and
wow.
they would. So I, where I worked was right where they came out, so
Yeah.
you could hear the thing starting to turn up, and then it was just the song, whatever. I don't remember what song it was. I'm guessing it was probably like the theme song for High School Musical 3, just all the way down Main Street, and it's like
Wow.
it was fun for the first day and a half,
Mhm.
but after that, it was just like, I'm
Yeah.
good. I'm so good on this one. So,
Yeah. And kids today wouldn't have even seen those movies, which is the
right.
crazy part for me, but
Yeah. I, it's so funny. Oh, so the fact that you were able to kind of learn the music you want, was that kind of what drew you to the piano, or was that just what kept you in piano?
um probably just a little bit of both. I mean, piano is kind of the family instrument.
Hmm.
I played clarinet, in the school band for 5 or 6 years. I did musical theater and choirs and that kind of thing. But yeah, I think every musician, well, there's some people out there who are so into the whole multi-instrumentalist thing that they genuinely have this incredible connection with just a smorgasbord of instruments.
Hmm.
For me, the piano just really spoke to me, and I had that connection. Some people are like that with guitar or drums, but for me, that it just happened to be piano
Yeah,
for sure.
for sure. And at what point did you kind of start writing your own stuff, or was that something kind of you were always playing with?
Um, so if you look back in my diary when I was 10 years old, there's a song in there, which is really funny to me. And even though I didn't really write down any musical notation next to the lyrics, I still remember the melody. And part of me is like, one day I would love to go in and just record that song that I wrote when I was 10. Um, so I think I was always kind of interested in it, but really I didn't start writing songs uh seriously until my mid 20s
Mm.
because I really did not see myself becoming a professional musician, if I'm honest. It was like a very pleasant surprise in my life that things turned that way.
What was the turning I guess what was the turning point?
Well, so I went to Cal Poly, San Luis
Mm.
Obispo, and I studied business there, but I minored in music. And again, still at this point thinking I'm just kind of doing this music minor for fun. I studied piano and performance there.
Okay.
But then I moved to Ventura and I found these guys on Craigslist. We all became roommates, and one of them played guitar. And we just started jamming. And I hadn't really just jammed with other musicians before. It was always either by myself, piano lesson, recital, or in a classical orchestra.
Mm.
So that really kind of was the impetus for me learning what it meant to be in a band, what it meant to improvise, to listen to other players, to learn more styles. I think that was really the turning point, was just making those friends and meeting different people who played instruments. And I kind of accidentally stumbled into the first band I was ever in that
Mm.
same way, just from these fun jam sessions that we would have every week.
Nice. It's funny, kids nowadays will never understand the cool place that Craigslist was
Yeah.
at one point in its life cycle. Now
Yeah.
it's like this creepy cesspool of
Yeah.
things. It
Yeah.
used to be a really cool place to go find friends or go make uh like go find music fellow musicians or filmmakers or whatever it was, but now it's just not that anymore. So,
Yeah, like I think even once I moved into that house, I think maybe my roommate even put a post on Craigslist saying like we're looking for local musicians to jam with. And I think that's how I met one of our other friends who I'm
yes.
still close with and I still work with. So yeah, I think it's always been, you have to use your best judgment on a platform like that. But
Mhm.
that if that hadn't happened, I really don't know that I would be playing music professionally, to be honest. So I just didn't realize it was an option for me by the
Yeah,
time I'd gone through college.
fair.
So
So it was like one giant leap of faith almost.
maybe like a tiny, maybe not one giant leap, but a
Yeah,
series of very small steps of faith is how I guess I would put it, because it
fair.
just gradually became, I was in that one band, the Mistos, for a few years, and that was the only project I was involved in. It was, that was my main focus. And then the band kind of naturally dissipated because people moved, different states, to
Mhm.
a different country. And I said, well, hold on a second. Like, I don't want to lose this momentum that I
Yeah,
have. I'm still in the same place. And from there was kind of when I decided, okay, I'm going to try and play with other bands. I'm going to write songs. I'm going to try and have my own project and stand on my own 2 feet and just kind of see what happens. So,
gotcha. I was
mhm.
going to ask, where does your solo project kind of fit in all this? Because it just so like from what I've seen on Spotify and whatnot, you started releasing your solo stuff in 2021, right after the pandemic kind of started not being a thing.
Yeah, I think the first song that I wrote that I released was technically sort of under the name of this other band, the
Mm.
Mistos, back in 2019. But
Yeah,
yeah, I ended up re-releasing it under just my name later on, because that band just wasn't really together
yeah.
anymore. But so yeah, I really didn't start focusing on my solo project until I would say early 2019 was when I
Mm.
played my first solo set. I had a friend, Jacob Cole, who was playing in a show in my town, and I just said, can I play a few songs before you go up? And thankfully, he trusted me and let me do that. And I still remember how terrifying that was. It's silly now when looking back
Hmm.
on how many times I've now done that exact thing, and bigger things. But yeah, it's a big thing to do, to go on stage like that for the first time and put yourself out there, especially by yourself. I hope part of me never loses that
Yeah.
feeling. If my career goes nowhere bigger than what I'm doing now, I always hope I keep that a little bit because I
Oh,
think
yeah.
it keeps me humble.
Doing it by yourself is the scariest part. When you
Mhm.
have other people around you, it's not quite as scary because it's almost feels like there's like a security blanket or something. If you screw up, somebody else is right there to pick
Yeah,
up the
a little
mic
bit.
and, you know, but when it's just you by yourself and it's like they're focusing on me for the entertainment,
Mhm.
I better not screw up. That's where the mind games start a little bit. So,
Yeah. Nowadays, I kind of enjoy this other side of it, which is that if you are the only person, you're also the only person you have to worry about on
mm,
stage. You can
yeah,
kind of do whatever you want. You
yeah,
can skip parts of songs, you can, jam something out, you can switch up the set list on the fly, and you're not affecting anybody else. So that kind of control
mm,
aspect of it still appeals to me a little bit,
yeah,
but you're right. You have other people to kind of lean on and rely on
yeah,
to carry you, even if you're the leader. Even when I don't play with a full band too often. I try to make it kind of like a special occasion as far as my
mm,
original music goes. But, you know, it's nice to have people back, like literally and figuratively backing you up.
yeah.
They're emotionally there for support as much as they are to play instruments to your songs.
Oh yeah,
Mhm.
100%.
Yeah,
So you've had a busy 2024
I have.
between releasing music and playing shows, all this fun stuff. Where are you kind of at creatively right now? I know you just released sitting this one out back in June.
Mhm.
Where are you kind of at right now?
I think, but by the time I put that song out, I was on the edge of burnout a little bit. So this summer I have kind of consciously scaled back just a little bit, and kind of taken some time to evaluate everything.
Mm,
And there's just so much pressure on artists, especially new artists like me, relatively speaking. I'm not new to music or playing an instrument, but as far as being a singer-songwriter is, or as far as a singer-songwriter goes, I am still pretty green, right? So I feel immense pressure just from me. Like I don't have like millions of fans DMing me to release songs, but I want to put out a bunch of music because I do have a bunch of songs written, but you can't rush the process too much, I think. And that's sort of what I'm learning is you just have to kind of sit with it. And some people take 2 years to release one song because they just
Mm.
want to get it exactly right. And in a way, I think that's very respectable because it's so tempting just to be like, okay, it's good enough,
Yeah.
put it on, you know? And that's kind of my personality. So I'm learning to maybe sit with things a little bit longer.
Fair, very fair. And now, do you feel that pressure a little bit more given your location being within driving distance of LA and LA being the media entertainment, whatever title you want to give it,
Yeah,
it's
I guess. I mean, again, it's not from any one person or, direction or anything like that, but it, I don't play in LA that often. I would
Mhm.
say maybe like twice a year. And it's been kind of a while since I've even done that because we do have, I'm near Ojai, I'm near Santa
Mhm.
Barbara. We just have a lot going on up here. I
Yeah.
don't necessarily always need to go to LA, but that is kind of the hub, right? And it's just more competitive. It's
Mm.
really more competitive, it's more saturated, and I think it's good to put yourself in that environment because there's so many incredible people to meet and to share your music with and to hear their music. I've had nothing but positive experiences. It's just, yeah,
Yeah.
it's a thing.
Yeah. I know, I 100% get it. It's tends to be a mind game we all play with ourselves of, am I doing enough? Am I doing too much?
Yeah.
And being in a city or around a city like LA and just Southern California in general, it's like I've never lived there. I've been there once in my life, but I can only imagine like some people that just always trying to crank that stuff out.
I
So,
never feel like I'm doing enough. And
mm,
it also doesn't help that I have people in my life who are musicians and who have been just grinding on their
mm,
careers for decades. Some of them,
mm,
some of my older friends, and they still, it's almost like to an extent, it's sort of, there's an element of right place, right time.
mm,
Because I have so many friends that are insanely talented, perform all the time, everywhere. They've kind of done the work. You would think their careers would have taken off, but there's just this kind of like extra factor that goes into who becomes, quote unquote huge and
mm,
who kind of doesn't. But I think we also need to start looking at what it means to be successful in music in a different way. Because if we look at it as, if you're not Taylor Swift, you're not successful, then most of us aren't going to be successful.
yeah.
So I think if you're making a life for yourself doing music and you're putting out music that you're proud of and it's your job and you're putting food on your table doing music, like that is success.
Mm,
I don't think you need to be, you know, uh, I just, it's one of the only industries where we think of success that way,
mm.
you
Yeah.
know?
And
Um,
there's several musicians that I've worked with that they tour around Texas here and they're on the road for 3 weeks, then they come off the road for a week or two, and then they go back on and
Ah,
they're able to feed their family. They don't, people, well, I mean, now it's a little bit different because all the eyes are on Texas right now. But like 3 or 4 years ago, they would just kind of go around Texas. Nobody outside of Texas would really know who they were, but
yeah.
they made a good living. So,
Yeah, it's sort
you
of
know,
equal parts inspiring to me and also kind of like humbling to see people just work that hard and just live, on the road
mhm,
constantly, really just giving everything they have to their music career. And it's
mhm,
still kind of to them still sort of stays at a
yeah,
plateau,
yeah.
you know?
It, it's really interesting watching some of these like DIY punk bands
Mm,
that I know several bands that they go on the road for 6 months and they book out their tour. They come back for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, record an album, and then they tour off that album for 6 months and they just live out of their van for
yeah.
10 months out of the year. And it's like that would scare the living you know what out of me, you
Yeah,
know?
there's not a lot of job security, for most of us, unless you're on retainer playing for a
Mm,
big artist. Uh, even my friends who play for really big names in the music industry, again, unless you have that retainer, you're still not really
mm,
sure when your next paycheck is coming in. When is your next tour? Who are you playing for next? Where's the work gonna come
mm.
from? So
Absolutely.
it's kind of neat that I think up and down the ladder of fame
Yeah.
or whatever you want to call it in music, a lot of the feelings are the same.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Oh, so let's jump back to sitting this one out really quick. What is the story behind that song? How long has that kind of been in the works for you?
uh I think I wrote it, so I released it in June. I want to say I wrote it in like January of this past year. I can't remember exactly, but I knew I just wanted to do something about choosing yourself, a
Mhm.
song about choosing yourself, about recognizing the potential dangers in a potential new, romantic partner. And a lot of the songs I've released, well, okay, I don't have many songs out. I don't know why I said a lot, but Life in the Gray and Seattle are a little bit more about being kind of the vulnerable one in that dynamic and being duped and, being the heartbroken one. And I think as I get older, I am more empowered to write empowering music, if that makes sense.
Mm.
And I think there's a maturity and a growth that just comes with age. And I would like my music to reflect that. So sitting this one out is really just about kind of recognizing, hey, like something about this person is not quite a good fit for me. And I can see that this might not be healthy. And so I'm going to make the call this time. I'm going to make the call to sit this one out. And it's also sort of a play on words because in music, to informally jam with a band, you'd say, you're going to sit in with the
Mhm.
band.
Yeah.
So I kind of was interested by that concept too, because instead of sitting in, especially since a lot of the musicians or a lot of the people that I date are musicians, classic. It's, yeah, it's sort of a play on the concept of sitting in. So instead of sitting in with the band, I'm going to sit this one out. So that's
Nice.
where that came from. Mhm.
Nice. That's really cool. I definitely enjoyed the song.
Oh, thank
I
you.
got introduced to your Instagram, or I found you on Instagram. I don't know why I said it like that. That sounded really weird, but I found you on
Oh, I
Instagram
know.
about a few weeks ago, and I started listening to some of your music and sitting this one out. Or yeah, that song is just absolutely amazing. So
Oh,
it
thank you
it
so much.
yeah.
Yeah, I recorded that one up with this great engineer producer named Joel Jacks up in
Mm,
San Ynez. He's done some incredible work. He worked a lot with David Crosby and recorded Olivia Newton-John. And it's
yes.
just a beautiful space with this beautiful grand piano. And, instruments can be very sort of spiritual and have a lot of personality and soul to them. So something about that piano just
Yeah.
really, it just speaks to me. And we have a rapport every time I
Nice.
get to go up there and record. So yeah, that was really fun, and I kind of co-produce with Joel because I when I say I like to produce myself, I am not at all saying that there aren't people out there who couldn't produce my music better. There 1000% are, but when you're a small artist, I think it's good to know what you like and what you
Hmm.
want. And also, it just saves me having to pay another person, to be
Yeah.
completely honest with you.
Yeah.
So I do kind of like to produce myself to an extent, and make a lot of those musical choices based on what I hear in the song.
Hmm.
So
And it also helps further on down the line. Like once you are able to bring in a producer to come in, you have the knowledge
yeah,
of
exactly.
what you've liked in the past and how to kind of explain instead of saying, "Oh, this sounds to this," and
Yeah.
trying to, yeah, you know,
It's a good learning experience, and it's really intimidating a little bit to take the helm, but I just kind of know a lot of the times with my songs, I know what I'm looking for and I know what I'm not looking for as far
mm,
as the instrumentation or the arrangement or tone or all those different elements. So I think it can be really scary, but it's a really powerful thing to, sit at the console with an engineer and go, okay, yeah, let's not do that. Let's do something else.
Hmm.
I like that. I don't like that. Uh, I think part of it is a little bit of a like control thing.
Yeah.
Because these are your babies. Like this is your art. So I don't think I'll ever be an artist who is just completely hands off. Some people are like that, and there's nothing wrong with that. But for me, I love being super engaged in every step of the process as much as I can be.
Awesome. Awesome. So obviously you've had a busy year so far, and you kind of mentioned that you're just working on writing and creating and all that fun stuff. What's kind of the vision for the rest of the year? Just kind of staying in that mode, or do you have aspirations of getting one more out there?
Um, we'll see. Yeah, the
Mm.
last year or two, it seems like I've found a cadence of putting out 2 singles a year. I'm really grappling with the decision that a lot of other musicians are grappling with, which is, do we put out albums? Do we put out LPs? I have enough songs for an LP, but
Hmm.
it seems like nowadays singles is just kind of what people are doing, unless you already have a really solid fan base of a
Hmm.
lot of people who are going to consume your album no matter what you do. I'm tempted right now to keep doing singles.
Hmm.
Making an album is a huge accomplishment, and I definitely want to do that at some point. But
Yeah.
I do kind of think it makes sense when you're still relatively new to kind of drip feed is totally the wrong phrase, but
Yeah.
it's just so much more doable, to be honest. And it's a lot of money, it's a lot of
Yeah.
time. Everyone who's ever recorded anything knows it's just like looking up this giant mountain of work that you
Right.
have to accomplish. And for now, while I only have like 5 songs out, I think I will continue to do a few more singles and then start looking at the idea of either at least an EP, if not
Yeah.
an LP. But yeah, maybe that'll happen by the end of the year. I'm not sure.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
You
Because
got
it's
to
so
decide what songs to do next, so that's a big decision.
right, right. Because it's
Yeah,
so weird. It's like the year's like 2/3 over at this point, and it's like, where'd it go? Where did it all go? So,
I know. It's really wild. And thankfully, having done the last few with Joel Jacks up in Santa Ynez, Joel is really efficient
mm,
and very good with time management and things. Once we get the ball rolling, things move really quickly.
that's cool.
Especially my single Life in the Gray I did up there. It's just a vocal and a piano. I think, but between the day that we recorded it and it being mastered or mixed and mastered was like a week or
Oh
something.
well.
Yeah.
Wow.
So that is nice that I've found people who are super professional and players too, players who always come in prepared and are professional and easy to work with and take feedback well. It's not always the most fun thing to have to tell someone else who's playing an instrument trying their best,
Mm,
can we not do
yeah.
that? But
The
as
fact,
someone who also does hired gun work and kind of a baby session musician, yeah, you have to be secure enough in your craft to be able to take notes like that. It's not a big
mhm.
deal. But
Yeah, absolutely. 100% agreed. So if anybody wants to check out your music, catch a live show, any of that fun stuff, interact with you on social, where's the best place to find you?
yeah, so either on my Instagram, Jess Bush Music, or I do have a website that I try to keep updated with upcoming shows, and that's just jessbushmusic.com. Um, I'm pretty much everywhere. I have a Bandcamp and I'm on Spotify and Apple Music and all those kinds of things. But those two main places, I would say my website and Instagram would be the best places to connect with me.
Awesome. Do you have any upcoming shows that'll be in like the next couple of weeks or
I'm playing in Ojai at a cool bar up there called Ojai Pub on September 15th. And I'm currently got 2 potential LA kind of solo singer-songwriter events in the works. I'm not going to say what they are yet because it's not set in
yeah,
stone.
fair enough.
But yeah, hopefully those 2 things will pan out between now and December, and I'll publish the dates for sure when I get them in the diary.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Jess, thank you so much for joining us. It was an absolute pleasure chatting with you. Really appreciate your time. Thank you, everybody else, for tuning in, and we will catch you all later.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Thanks for having me.